Hi everyone! In today's video I'm going to steal an idea from someone else that I watched, I think it was last week. And this is the favorite eyeshadow and the palette video. I got this idea from Georgia Harris and I will link her channel down below. She did a collab with Spooky Lips and Fat Hips and I just thought it was a really fun idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all my eyeshadow palettes and pick out my favorite color in the palette, and then I'm going to swatch it on my arm. And at the end of it, we're going to see what my custom palette or what my preferences in eyeshadows look like, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be kind of cool to see what color star we end up with, so I'm just gonna start. I have a big bin next to me with all my eyeshadow palettes, and the first one that I'm pulling out is my Zodiac palette, so let's open her up. I probably should have thought this through before I'm doing it because I don't really know what my favorite shades in some of these palettes are. So this is what it looks like, and this palette actually has a lot of very unique shades, but I know for myself the one shade that I tend to gravitate towards, or I pull out this palette for, is this purple down here. This purple is really pretty. It's super pigmented, but it's very easy to work with. I'll give you a swatch of my arm right now. I'm going to make sure I have room for a lot. So here's a swatch of that shade. As you can see, it's really, really pretty. It's very vibrant. It's got good pigmentation. So that would be the shade that I choose for that palette. I make sure I have a lot of makeup wipes next to me because I know I'm going to have to use these a lot because there's a lot to swatch here. The next palette that I'm putting out is the Morphe 35B palette, which looks like this. And I think my favorite shade in this palette is this yellow down here. It's a very shimmery, like lighter yellow. It's not quite gold. Show you what it looks like. It's really stunning. It's got very good pigmentation, and I just think it's a shade that you don't see a lot in palettes. You see a lot of golds and you see a lot of very lighter shades, but you don't really see like the yellow whitish shimmer, so I think that's a really unique shade. Next up I have my Carroty Matte palette, which looks like this. And the shade that I think is the most unique in this palette is this peachy shade right here. It's, I don't have a lot of shades like this in other palettes, and I just think it's a super pretty, very summery shade. And I really like how these colors are working together already. I think we're gonna have a perfect palette at the end of this, but we'll see. Next I'm pulling out the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions. I like this palette a lot, but I don't use it as much as I thought I would. Probably because to me, this is a palette that requires me to pull out another palette because I don't really tend to stick to like one color scheme only. So this is a little boring for me to only use as one look, but my favorite shade in the palette is this matte mommy shade, which is probably why it's called Mauve Obsessions. Looks like that. It's a really good shade to use as transition shades for other looks, and I just think it works really well. It's very blendable, it's easy to build up, but it's not so pigmented that it's gonna get patchy and you have a hard time with it. So let's see. Next one, I got the DHC Cosmetics Festival palette. In this one, I don't know which my favorite shade is, to be honest. I'm gonna have to take a look here. Okay, that actually wasn't that hard looking at the palette. I think I'm going to go with this pale pink right here. I love this shade. It's very summery. Again, maybe it's because we're in the warm weather that I tend to gravitate towards these more pastel shades, but it could also be just because I just don't have that many of them. This one looks like this. And this palette is really good. I really feel like I need to get more use out of this because the quality of this palette is amazing. So the next palette that I have is a palette that I haven't had for very long. I got this from a friend not that long ago, so it is the Urban Decay Full Spectrum palette. I haven't really played with this, and I don't really know why. Like, it's pretty. It's got a lot of shades in it. It looks like this. I think the reason why I haven't really pulled for this is because a lot of the shades in here, or almost all of them, tend to have like glitter in them. There's not a lot of like all matte shades, and that kind of tends to put me off a little bit. It's hard to pick a favorite shade in this palette because I don't really think I have one, but I think I'm going to go with this orange down here because you don't see a lot of shimmery orange shades that look like this. And so the pigmentation on it is good. I like it. So it's definitely not my favorite shade in the lineup that we have on my arm right here, but I still think it's a good shade. Next up, we have a palette that I also need to reach for more. If you guys want to see any tutorials, even just like a swatch book video or something of this palette, it is the Violet Voss Rainbow palette. So I think my favorite shade in this palette might surprise you, but it's actually this black right here. And as you can see, it's got a lot of sparkles and shimmers in it. And it's a stunning shade. I'm not really one to wear a lot of black eyeshadow, but this one really is like special. Do you see that pigmentation? I'm not sure if you can see the sparkles in it, but it's definitely there, and it's gorgeous. Like, you can make some really nice like smoky black eyes with this. Like, if you put this all over your lid and then put a different transition shade in, it's gonna look amazing. Next up, we have one of my current favorites, probably because I just got it, and it is the Juvia's Place Afrique palette. I freaking love this palette. It is stunning. It looks like this. And my favorite shade in this is the yellow. The shade right here. I'm actually wearing it on my eyes today in the inner corner. And I do have a tutorial on this look coming up for my 3 Looks 1 palette. And it looks like this. So it might not look that pigmented on the arm, but it builds up beautifully. I've had this look on for 6 hours maybe, and I haven't touched up or anything, and it still looks really good. So I'm very impressed by the yellow in this. It's very tough to find a good yellow, and I don't have the Sugar Pill yellow, which I know a lot of people say is the best yellow on the market, and I still need to get my hands on that, and I still haven't. So that's on my to buy list at some point. Next palette that we have is the Masquerade Mini by Juvia's Place. Can you tell I like Juvia's Place? It's probably my favorite brand of eyeshadows. If I could only pick one eyeshadow brand to use for the rest of my life, I think it would be Juvia's Place, which that says a lot. I'm gonna say that my favorite shade in this palette is this blue down here. I find that is a pretty unique shade of blue because a lot of shimmery blues tend to be more on the dark side or more on the very light side. So it's nice to kind of have like one that's more in between. So it looks like this. Is absolutely stunning. Juvia's Place's shimmers are one of my favorite formulas. They're really incredible. Next up, we have the Dragon Child palette by Makeup Monsters. This is also one of my newer palettes, but I've had a lot of time to play with this because I've done some videos with it. I did a first impression, I did a 3 Looks 1 palette, and I will make sure to put all those videos up in the cards if you want to watch them, and I will also put them down in the description box. I have to say that my favorite shade in this palette, this is tough. It's going to be between these 2 shades, but I think I'm going to choose this one because I feel like it's the most unique of the 2. But the other Dragon Child shade is absolutely beautiful as well. I'm running out of space on my arm here. I gotta make sure I put him a little closer. There you go. Swatch of that. It's really pretty. Next up, we have the Zulu palette by Juvia's Place. Do you see the theme here? I feel like I have a lot of Juvia's Place, and I still have another one coming, so oops. All right, let's see. This really is a no-brainer for me because this green shade here, as you can see, I have used this a lot. There's a big dip in the middle here, but I love this. This is the kind of shade that will give me a makeup orgasm. And just look at this. I don't even know what to say. It's just, it's perfect. Next palette in my collection is the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. I don't use this much. I pay way too much money for it. And now I'm stuck with it. And I don't reach for these colors that often. And this is too funny because my favorite shade in this palette is actually this pink down here. Just more of a transition shade, but I just think it's really pretty. It's very soft. Let's see, I'm going to actually put this down here. And it doesn't show up that well, but you can see it, and it does show up on the eyes because Natasha Denona's shadows are very pigmented as well, which seems to be the theme of my collection. I like very highly pigmented shadows, as you will see in this next one. So the next one that I have is the Pat McGrath, and this is the Decadence palette. It's a Mothership Decadence palette. and I like this palette a lot. These shadows are absolutely amazing. Man, this is really hard, but I think I'm going to go with this blue shade right here. This blue here is out of this world. I mean, honestly, all the shadows in this palette are out of this world because it is Pat McGrath, so let's see. That's what that looks like. She is so shiny. Yeah, I love these shadows. So it's funny, when I first sat down to film this video, I really thought that my arm would end up being like all green and all purple, but looking at this, there's a pretty good variety of shades, so I clearly don't discriminate, and I really don't when it comes to makeup. Like, I love everything, and I'm sure if you've seen any of my other videos, you will know that. The next palette that I have is the Take Me Back to Brazil palette by DHC Cosmetics. I like this palette. I don't reach for it that often. I don't know if it's just because the pan sizes in this are just, they're so small. Like, usually I'm all for smaller pan sizes, but these are freaking tiny. But I will say I know what my favorite shade is already, and it is this green down here. It's very tough to find a green that is more on the lighter side. Let's see if I can get my finger in here. See, this is why I don't like this palette that much, because it's so small I can't even get my finger in it. Okay, let's see. Where do we put this? Let's put this right here. So, I mean, it's not the most pigmented green, but that's mostly on my part because I couldn't really get my finger in it. I'm gonna try to intensify this a little bit. All right, there we go. That's better. So it's a really pretty shade. I do like it. I just don't reach for this palette enough. Which, I mean, I guess is fine. It's not the most expensive palette that I own, so I don't feel too bad about it. We have 4 palettes left. Can I make room for 4 more palettes? Yeah, I'll find a way. So next one is the Subculture palette from Stasia. And I already know what my favorite shade in this is. It is Electric down here. If you haven't seen it, it looks like this, but this right here is my favorite shade. So I'm gonna dig my finger in there, which you really have to do to get some pigment out of this. And this is one of those shades that you really need to build up. It doesn't always show up on first application. So I think I'm going to go on top here. Wow, that didn't show up at all, did it? Yeah, pretty bad, but that's my favorite shadow regardless. And usually I have to go in with my brush and spray my brush like 4 different times to really get the shadow to show up, but when you do, it is stunning. It looks like it does in a pan, which I mean, it's not the whole point. So next palette that I have is from Alamara Cosmetics. We got this in BoxyCharm, I want to say 2 months ago, and I really like this palette. It is such good quality. The shadows in here are incredible. If you've been wondering about this palette, go get it. That's how good it is. And my favorite shade is this one up here. It's kind of like a gold shade that has a little bit of like an olive in it. And it's super pretty. Let me see. It's really, really pretty. The next palette that I have is my second to last one, and this one that I assume that a lot of you guys are going to have. It is the Jaclyn Hill by Morphe palette. I think I'm going to surprise you a little bit with this one because my favorite shade in this palette is actually none of these 4. It's this green shade down here. It's a very, very dark green that I have not seen really any other brands come out with. And so I think it's quite unique to my collection, which is why I like it so much. That's what it looks like. I did a look with this where I put a very dark green in my crease and then this shade all over the lid. And it was dark and mysterious, but not too harsh, but like in a good way. And I really enjoyed wearing that look. I thought it was really pretty. So actually I lied. I have 2 palettes left and I don't even really want to do this one because it's one that we got in BoxyCharm last month and I don't like it at all. It is by Crown and it looks like this. One of my shades came broken when I received the palette and I just don't even feel like complaining about it because I don't want a new palette. I mean, honestly, I just don't care. So I will probably end up giving this away or throwing it out at some point. I don't know, I'll figure something out, but my favorite shade in this palette is going to be these little, I don't even know how to explain colors, but I will swatch it for you. But it's kind of like a rose gold / coppery shade, I suppose. with a bit of orange in it. And like, it's not a bad shade. I'm sorry, I just hit the shade next to it, but I'm running out of room here, so bear with me. But it is a nice shade. But I will probably never use it again. Let's be real here. And the last palette that I have, I thought I would say one of my favorites for last, and it is another Juvia's Place palette. Who's surprised? I'm not. And in this palette, my favorite shade, which also might surprise you, but it's actually this white pink slash duochrome shade right here. And I love putting this in my inner corner. It is so stunning. Oh, it's so cute. Let's just keep going on top here. It looks like this. And just the shift in it, I feel like it's super unique. And I think that all the swatches on my arm are actually shades that are pretty hard to come by, which is why I like them so much. Okay. Those were my favorite shades in my palettes. Also keep in mind that I've had more palettes than this in the past. I'm just really good at decluttering as I go. Like, I really hate having things in my collection that I don't like, so I don't just keep them in drawers and let them collect dust. I actually just get rid of them, give them away or whatever. And then I'm just so much more happy when I look at my collection and I get inspired to make new looks and just have fun with makeup. So yeah, that was it for today's video. Let me know if you have some of the same palettes that I have and which shades are your favorite shades. I would love to know in the comments down below. And I would also love if any of you have a channel and you do this video, tag me in it or let me know somehow so I can watch it, because I really enjoy watching these videos. I think it's very interesting to see what people choose. So that was it for today's video, and I hope you stick around for tomorrow's, and I will see you then. Bye!